Are you wondering if you're doing everything that you should be doing to set yourself up for retirement? Or if there are some things that maybe you want to consider changing in order to get on the right path? In this video, we're going to review two couples that have very similar goals in retirement, but the choices that they make during their prime earning years between 50 and 65 have resulted in two very different outcomes. So let's take a look at what their Monte Carlo simulation looks like from 65 on, and then we're going to go back and look at what decisions they made starting at age 50 that led to this outcome. So on the left side here, we have the savers, and on the right side, we have the spenders. So they both have the same exact goals in retirement, but when we watch this Monte Carlo simulation, they both have very different outcomes. So remember, Monte Carlo simulation takes 1,000 different possibilities of what could happen during their life, and it comes up with a probability of success. So our savers have a 96% probability of success, or essentially they had about 30 trials out of 1,000 that ran out of money before the end of their lifetime. So that's these red lines right here. Now, our spenders had a lot more. So they had about 750 trials run out of money before the end of their life. So let's see what happens if we were to rewind and look at what led to them being in this situation and this difference of outcomes. Let's rewind to age 50 and see what they did differently. So both of these couples made the same amount of money. They both made $350,000 a year. For sake of example, let's assume that both spouses made $175,000 apiece. So they've got $350,000 a year. They're paying about $100,000 in taxes, and they have a take-home pay of right around $250,000. Okay, their basic living expenses are $66,000 a year. So they both have the same basic living expenses, and that is going to continue on into retirement. And they both are starting with an investment portfolio at age 50 of around $1 million. So mixed between a number of different accounts. So now let's see what they're spending that led to this big difference in overall portfolio size at the time of retirement. So they're spending, again, basic living expenses is $66,000 a year. Now, one of the big differences between these two couples is their mortgage. So the savers are spending about $61,000 a year on a mortgage, and the spenders are spending $106,000. Home insurance, because it's a bigger home, is going to be different too. So $6,000 over here, and we have $10,000 over here. And then taxes, of course, because it's a bigger home, is going to be more expensive as well. So $7,000 versus $11,000. Now, one of the biggest differences between these two couples is the kind of cars they drive. So they both have car payments and on both spouses' cars, but the savers have a car payment of $16,000 total throughout the entire year, and the spenders have a car payment of $40,000 total. So that total comes out to $156,000 for the savers in total spending and $233,000 for the spenders, for a difference of $77,000 every year. So let's take a look at what this all means in terms of their spending and how that translates into their ability to save. So both couples were saving into their Roth 401k. So the savers were saving $31,000 each, and then they were getting a match. So they were getting a match of 4% of their $175,000 a year salary. So they both got a $7,000 match, and then they were saving after tax, after their take-home pay, they were saving an additional $30,000 into a joint brokerage account. Now, the spenders were only saving enough to get the match. So they were saving that 4% of their salary. So they're each saving $7,000, and then they got that match as well. So they were saving a total of $28,000 a year through their 401k plus the match. But then the savers were saving a total of $106,000 a year. So the power to save is sometimes someone's biggest growth factor in their ability to grow their net worth. Saving $100,000 a year, like our saving couple here, on $1 million is a 10% growth in their liquid net worth, even before any kind of performance kicks in. So let's take a look at if we were to multiply these savings numbers by 15. So they're 50 years old today, and they were to save this amount for the next 15 years. For the saving couple, that equals $1.6 million. And for the spending couple, they're only saving $420,000. Now, those numbers are without any kind of performance being applied to the portfolio. So now, for sake of example, let's assume that there's a 5% growth rate, a hypothetical 5% growth rate over the time from they're 50 to the time that they're 65. And let's also add those savings to their original $1 million that they had at age 50. So if we were to add that money at saving every year to that $1 million, and we were to compound it at a 5% growth rate every year, then the total amount with 5%, then the total amount comes out to $4.4 million for the saving couple, and it comes out to $2.7 million for the spending couple. So that's a significant difference between these two, and it really comes down to the amount that they're saving on an annual basis. So when planning for retirement, it's important to understand what our goals are for the future. What does our ideal future look like? And then we can work backwards to determine what we need to do today to put us on the right path for the future. So let's see what their goals look like in retirement. So they both had very similar goals. One of the big differences between these two couples, though, is going to be their home insurance and their property taxes, because they still have that same house that they were living in before. Now, one thing that you'll notice differently is that the saving couple was able to buy a dream car in retirement. So when they retired, they bought a $160,000 car, and the spending couple, they bought two more $100,000 cars. So that's the big difference between these two. But overall, their spending goals are very similar. So their retirement goals were similar, but they had very different outcomes. Now, to summarize, it's important to understand what we want our retirement to look like so that we know what we have to do today in order to help us get there. And it's a balancing act. Tomorrow is never promised. And as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, life is about the journey, not the destination, right? The savers in this video are not doing everything right because maybe they could have enjoyed their wealth a little bit more, either during their working years or during retirement. But we find that balancing act by sitting down and putting together a financial plan so that we can maximize our time, both for ourselves and for our loved ones. My name is Zach Morris, and I'm the founder of Paces Ferry Wealth Advisors. And if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give us the thumbs up below. Thank you for watching.